Thank you for joining our Lakeside chats here at Lakeshore Talent. Really excited for the conversation today. AI is everywhere, especially in recruiting and hiring. And the conversation keeps changing, it seems, daily on what's right to what's hype. So I am joined today by Darren Westall, CEO and co-founder of Pager. Darren built Pager to help recruiters spend less time on busy work and more time building real relationships, which honestly is super fitting for today's conversation. So we'll be talking about what's working, what's not, what's hype in AI and recruiting. So for anyone who may not know you yet, Darren, I would love to have a quick version of your background and what led you to Pager.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey everyone, I'm Darren. I've been in the recruitment industry for 20 years, but never a recruiter. I'm a tech guy through and through. So, I used to work at a company called Broadbean Technology, which is a large SaaS business within the HR space. I got a job there straight out of college where I ironically failed IT, but somehow became a junior software developer. I think the CTO was off the day I was being interviewed. So, I muddled through the interview process and got a job there. I stayed at Broadbean for 11 years, so over a decade. And through that decade, I actually went from junior developer all the way to actually being their chief technology officer. So I oversaw their product and technical teams across EMEA. And I got my dream job. I was 28 years old, right? I'm CTO of a big SaaS
That's
company.
amazing.
Yeah, and that's what I thought. And turns out I was absolutely miserable. But it wasn't no reflection on the company. It's just that
Yeah.
when I was at college, what I did pass was business. I've always wanted to start my own
Mm.
business. You know, my dad had his own business, and every time that I got a promotion at work, it was like, oh, I can't start a business now. I've just done this, or I've just got a new mortgage. I've just bought a house. I can't do that. So once I finally reached that top of my ladder, I said, well, there's no more excuses, is there? I must do it now. So I went home to the wife and said, I'm quitting my job. And then a week later, we found out she was 3 months pregnant with my second.
Oh, of
So
course.
timing was awful, but we both agreed that if in 6 months' time Pager isn't working, then I'd go find another job. Luckily, that was 8 years ago now, so yeah, it didn't backfire. It worked
Something's
out.
working.
Yeah, so that's my background, and as you say, Pager was started because I saw a gap in the recruitment market where people were spending too much time on admin, on the things that actually doesn't make them, I was saying make them money, but make them successful, right? The thing that I think recruiters should do is have conversations, whether that's with candidates, clients, everybody. So if you're doing something that isn't a conversation, it should be automated.
Yeah, I love that. And again, I think that's perfect for our conversation today. And something that is being talked about so much, I see on LinkedIn, is where's AI going too far and where is it needed? And I think you just hit the nail on the head right off the bat is that we still need human interaction. It won't take that away from recruiters, but it can give recruiters so much more time to hone in on that part of the craft. So let's dive right into it. Thanks again for joining. I'm excited to have you here, Darren.
And thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So we'll start off with what's working and what's hype. So if you're, separating noise from reality, where are you seeing the most impact versus people just talking and trying to use AI everywhere they can?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, my background is software development. So if we start there,
Mhm.
every software developer I know either has a love-hate relationship with AI, and it's because they feel like AI can absolutely assist them, but then what they're doing is spending their time code reviewing what AI did, and they probably could have done it quicker themselves if they just did it.
Mm.
There's two camps. There's always going to be, and if you think about that, everybody now has the ability to be a junior software developer. But the key word there is junior, right? It's not the ability to be a senior software developer and understand the actual code and make sure that it's secure and ready to be deployed and scaled, etc. So what I'm seeing and what I would describe as hype is everybody is playing around on Claude, Lovable,
Mhm.
ChatGPT, into AI here to build themselves a website, a tool, something that can automate what they do. And I describe all of these things as like a new relationship. I know it sounds weird, right? So when you first get with someone, it's lovely, isn't it? The honeymoon period is brilliant. You're going out on dates, it's brilliant. But then actually after a while, you go, well, could you do that? And they say, oh no, I don't do that, or that's not my interest. And AI for me is very similar, right? So if you think about the longer term relationship that you're going to have with these tools, actually you will hit a barrier at some point, and might not mean that they're the one you're going to marry. So
Yeah.
that's the way I describe it. Is the hype right now is that yeah, it's brilliant, and we're in a honeymoon period with AI, but soon you will
Yep.
hit a roadblock that means that relationship isn't quite the one. And you end up going
Yeah.
back to the beginning, right? And that's what I'm seeing over and over. They build us tools
Mhm.
to a certain point and have to go back to the beginning, much like your love life. And I don't, and by
Yeah.
that I do not mean yours personally.
Not mine. No, it's funny because I feel like I've heard so many times we compare recruiting to dating. And then on the AI side, I think people are already seeing that, right?
Yeah,
To the point where, we're having to train it a lot more. At first, it was cool, whatever it tells us, we'll post, we'll put it everywhere. And now we're trying to reel that back in. We're trying to push it further, train it further. So I feel like that's already hitting where it's like we're coming out of that honeymoon phase with AI in
absolutely.
all different areas.
It has a use case, but don't try to automate what shouldn't be automated. Just ask yourself the
Agreed.
one question: is the juice worth the squeeze? And if it
Yeah.
is, then let's not bring AI into it. If it's I've seen so many adverts for like AI SDRs, cold calling. We're going to prospect
Hmm.
for you. Reality is, if everybody else does that, then your only way to actually differentiate yourself is not to do it. So
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes you need to look at go right. The world's moving there, which means I need to go over here.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that shift already. It happened so fast that we jumped on automate everything, and now we're like, oh, wait, I think we need to put some more human interaction into it. So, what's a practical use case that teams are using AI for today that you think is the most helpful in recruiting?
I think if we look at the biggest complaint we've ever had over the last 10, 20, probably longer, right, is that as recruiters, as companies, we don't go back to every single candidate, right? Every single candidate
Hmm.
doesn't get a
Yeah,
response, and that candidate experience is what dictates how people talk about you online, in forums, Reddit,
yeah,
etc. And actually now you've got the ability to very quickly match them to a job, say, are they a good enough fit for actually to have a human being involved? If not, you can automatically reply and say that based on XYZ criteria, unfortunately, right now is not the right fit, but we will keep you in mind for future opportunities. And for the
mhm,
first time, you can actually keep them in mind for future opportunities because when you've got a
yeah,
new one, it can go back through your previous applications and go, actually,
mhm,
Tom, who applied with you 2 years ago, fits this criteria. And now you can actually go back to Tom. So all the things that we said we were going to do, all the things we promised that yes, we get back to every candidate. Yes, we'll keep you on file. We'll come back to you if there is future opportunities. Actually, now we can do it. And I think that for me is the
yeah.
number one use case is that we can actually keep to our word because it's now not busy work. We can automate that. And that's worth automating.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, we've heard, especially recently, because we're doing things like this on balancing the tech and AI side, we're hearing from candidates a lot that they're like, you don't know how much it means to a candidate to even get a response, whether it's a yes or a no in the industry anymore. It's crazy how much people aren't hearing back. Ghosting is a huge conversation on both employer and candidate sides. I think that leads into the human versus AI of it all. We all want that efficiency. We're trying to give back more time, double numbers. So, where do you think AI is genuinely helping versus human interaction still really matters the most?
Yeah. And I think it's a very similar point as before where is the juice worth the squeeze? So what I mean by
Yeah,
that is there's lots of things in my business that I've gone, like, we could automate this, we can do that. Actually, now you can produce AI videos of me, you can have an avatar, it can sound like me, but
yeah,
it's not me. So if when's the right use case for that? Now,
yeah.
dropping a candidate is not quite right fit. A video, personalized video of me saying the reason it's not, actually that could be automating good. But if somebody is the right fit for my business, somebody that I think could be a real asset to my business, I do not want to automate anything with that person because I want them to
Mm,
get to know the real business, the real culture, me as a business, and that's where my time is valuable. So I
yeah.
would always just have a list and go, right, is it worth the squeeze? Is it worth my time? And 9 times out of 10, it is. And that's where you need to prioritize being a real human being. Whether you're in sales, whether you're in recruitment or anything, I don't know how to word it, but even within, I've seen like emails being written for you. Yeah, like internal emails.
Mhm.
But everybody in your business is a stakeholder, if you like. I used to look at people as stakeholders, and if you want to achieve something in a business, you need the trust of every single person within it. Now, do I
Mhm.
trust you if I know your emails are written by AI? Or actually, do I want to know exactly what Jan over in HR actually thinks? Yeah, I do, actually. I do.
Yeah.
And I want to know how they speak and I want to understand them. So, even with your colleagues every single day, you need to question, should I be using AI in this instance? Yeah, for me, that is the question is, do I want to build up trust with
Yeah.
this person?
Yeah. And I think that also goes back to what you said with if everyone's moving that way, everyone's inbox is inundated with the same lingo and the same way that these, automations are creating. It should not be taking the, social and human interaction out of it. And I think another thing that we've talked about before is the community and networking piece and how you cannot let AI move to where you're afraid to get out in your community and build these groups where you're networking still. So, with traditional outbound, where do you see that going in terms of how AI has been affecting it?
So I think AI has made traditional outbound a commodity.
Yeah.
Everybody is sending 100 emails a day. Everybody can personalize their emails. What you
Hmm.
can't do is actually replace that human connection. And community for me is think of it as an IP. Like coming back to my techie side, the reason we code our own products and not just resell white label somebody else's is because we want to own the IP. Well, your community is something that's got value to it. It's something that actually you can put money on, right? And you can say, actually, I own this community. I've cultivated it. I've built it over time. And if you think about that from a recruitment perspective, let's say I work for a company and I know that as a technical team, we always need Python developers. We always need them. I'm not hiring right now, but I know at some point in the future, 6 months, 12 months, I will need one. Then a good use of my time is hosting the Python meetup in my offices. It's getting all those developers together once every 3 months, providing pizza and actually owning that community. Because when I come to hire, it's not going to be a struggle. All I've got to do is say, by the way, this great company that you're already aware of, that you know where the office is, you know the people we're hiring. Do you want to come work with these awesome people? Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And suddenly my time to hire, my cost to hire is negligible because I've invested and cultivated that community. And that's the case
Yeah.
in everything we do. Like we run a community called the Lonely Marketers, which is probably the largest recruitment marketer community in the UK.
Wow.
And it's on a WhatsApp group, and I've got three screens in front of me, and one of my screens is dedicated to that WhatsApp group all day.
That's awesome.
Right? And because
Wow.
I want to make sure I'm there to respond, add my thoughts, add value to that group constantly.
Yeah.
And that for us is our target customers, right? A lot of our customers are recruit marketers. So I've made sure very purposely that I'm known within that community. Referrals come from it. If somebody moves from one job to the other, then they bring us with them. I've had
Mhm.
people that put pager on their resumes and as a skill now when it comes to recruitment marketing, which blows
Oh,
my
I love
mind.
that.
But
That's
all of
amazing.
that, yeah, blew my mind when
Yeah.
I first saw it. But that's come from breeding that community. You have to do things with purpose. It doesn't happen just accidentally. You don't accidentally
Yeah.
create community. You have to go into it purposely and saying, right, who is valuable to me? And you've got
Mhm.
to do it genuinely. If you go into that community thinking, I'm building this to make money, you won't. You have to go
Yeah.
into it. I'm building this community to add value and that I will see money in the long term. That will come.
Yeah.
But for the next
Yeah.
12, 24, 36 months, however long it takes, I'm building and I'm giving. And when you do that, great things happen.
I love that. I love that so much. And I think especially from a business consultant and business development side, community is everything, right? Like I am always in groups and trying to build just good people that you enjoy connecting others with. And I think that's truly building those relationships where you trust these people that you're working with. And I think the recruiting side of like what we do for clients as well, which is we're building that recruiting and candidate community that sometimes they don't have time for, right? Like if
Yeah.
they're an HR team that's stretched really thin or they don't have a recruiter yet, they don't have a whole pool of candidates that they've been building relationships with the last 10 plus years in the area versus we're working on building community and keeping that. So I think that's another part of on our side where it's like, all right, we'll have AI to help us make things faster, but we're still working on keeping these relationships long term with candidates, clients, and doing things that are, outside of bogging up
Uh,
their inbox all the time.
100% for me, that's the IP of a staffing agency. Now
Yeah.
the power is going to be what's my community and why. Because it's like
Hmm.
for me, what you offer to direct employers is a fast forward button. I want
Yeah.
to have access to this community. I need to press fast forward, in which case I'm going to work with a specialized staffing agency like yourselves.
I love that. And that hits on what I was going to ask next. But is there anything else that you're seeing now that top hiring teams or employers are doing differently from others right now?
Yeah, I think if we're sticking with the subject of AI, it's taking it very seriously. So, if you think about a business, typically what you'd have is a chief technology officer. That person owns your technology, but then what you need to have now is almost like somebody that owns AI enablement across the business.
Mm,
Otherwise, you end up with a pocket of a team doing this. This person over here is using Claude. This person's using ChatGPT. This person's using
mhm.
Pager. When actually, as a business, you need to have it unified, and that isn't one person's role. You need somebody that's owns it across the business. So they work with each department to understand what are their needs. Do we already have that solved elsewhere? And make sure also that it's compliant because I do see a lot of people going rogue with free AI accounts, putting confidential
Yeah.
information into it. So I think for me, the biggest thing is if you want to embrace AI, you need to appoint somebody as an enabler across the business and make it their
Yeah.
ownership to actually make it happen.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And thank goodness we have that here at Lakeshore because there's so much. It's every day there, like you said, anyone can build these tools now and put them out there to where it's a lot. So yeah, I think it's getting to the point where there's so much out there. You need a dedicated person that's consistently researching all these different things that go into it. And where else do you see the future of AI and recruiting and hiring going?
So now you're going to get me started. But if I go too much, let me know. But everywhere I look, people are like AI is a threat to jobs. When actually, I've got
Hmm.
an interesting perspective on this, where immigration isn't happening quick enough, and it's not actually people aren't taking the jobs, etc. So there's a bigger
Mm.
question to say, can AI replace enough jobs quick enough? Because actually the birth rates are declining, etc. And it's really interesting. If you want to go down a rabbit hole,
Yeah,
please go down this rabbit hole. But birth rates are declining, immigration's not happening quick enough. So actually the question to ask yourself is, can AI replace enough so that actually we can stay as we are? And where we don't have to work until stupid o'clock at night, can we get back some work-life balance as a result as well? So yes, it is a threat. I'm not going to sit here and say it's not affecting certain industries, the creative industries, etc. I recognize all of those things. But actually, and if you look longer term, the bigger picture, it may be the savior that we need.
I think I have a similar perspective there. Again, I think I always bring up it's how the person is utilizing it. It's how we as humans are choosing to utilize this that makes the hugest difference. But I agree with you in terms of let's let it take these jobs where humans now can grow further with what they're doing in their work and get time back to do things they truly want to do. So I'm excited to see where things go. Again, everyone, thanks for joining. This is CEO of Pager, Darren Westall, here on our Lakeside chat here at Lakeshore Talent. And we thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.